Okay, we are recording now. So I wanted to share with you, and I hope you know how to find these things.
We're recording.
So you know how to find these things? If I show you, if we go to this, to me, I'm going to share this screen over here. To me, the easiest way of finding our lessons, I'm going to share screen 2 now, and you're going to come off of there, and is if you go to the B'nai Zion website, and then, because my website is clunky, and if you go to more info on our thing, which if this disappears, like if you're on tomorrow already and you don't see that popping up at the top, then just go to calendar and find any day that it is on. You'll find it on here. So you'll see Prayerbook Hebrew and click on it there. And once we're in this page, then down here I'm keeping this as a kind of a navigation tool for us. So if we go to lesson 6, and you remember our secret that if you click on this, then you are in the chapter. And if you're looking at it from your book, yeah, secret, because we're not, I don't think
it's the secret.
It's the secret passageway. So now, and by the way, to zoom, I press Control and my mouse wheel. So what I wanted to do is this. I wanted to look at this vocabulary. Come on, in PDF. I'll do it like this. You can't trick me. I can do whatever I want. I can trick you into doing what I need. Watch me. All right. So this vocabulary, can we read this? How do I say father in Hebrew? Okay, good. Say mother in Hebrew. M. And for bonus points, how would I say dad? Daddy. Abba. Good. And how do I say mommy?
Ima.
Excellent.
That was hard to pull up so fast.
For me? For you? Yeah, I know that Ima and Abba. Well, so the trick is, my kids call me Ima, which is really handy. You go to Walmart and your kid is saying, Ima! You know it's you.
You have a necklace that says it too.
I have a bunch of things. I have a necklace that's #1 Ima on it. That was one of my all-time favorite Mother's Day presents. That, and when Max made me homemade truffles. I didn't even think that was a thing. I thought truffles were something you had to buy. I didn't know you could make them yourself. That was quite a treat. And when you eat Max's truffles, your whole body is happy. That was one of the coolest things ever.
Oh, really?
All right, so then the next word is truth. How do I say truth?
Emet.
Right, emet. And in Yiddish you'd say?
Emes.
And I want to remind you, one of the cool things about this word, emet, is that it starts with an aleph, which is the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet, and it ends in a tav, which is the last letter of the Hebrew alphabet, and the mem is in the middle of the alphabet. So in some sense, the word visually, conceptually, and symbolically represents the whole thing, from aleph to tav and everything in the middle. And by the way, and we will talk about this again as we get to Torah study on Saturday, but the word for a sign or a symbol is ot, which means a letter also. So that's why I used those words. This is the word land. It is not the land. That's another word I have to ask you, but how do I say land? Eretz. And you notice that because it's so this one, emet, and eretz are both words. They're segolates because that's the name of the vowel, the vowel. So whenever you have a segolate, the first syllable is always the accented syllable. Emet and eretz, of the two es. So eretz, and they're going to follow other similar patterns, although this one is not 100% because it's got what's called a chataf, a composite segol, but that's okay. We're going to stick it in there. There's a nice house. Let's
buy it.
All right. For, I guess only Mom. Mom is the only one that's in Shreveport. There is a house directly behind B'nai Zion that is for sale right now on Kayla. Anybody wants to buy it, talk to Jody. She's the the real estate agent for the house behind us. So buy it. Buy it is another one of those words that has a pattern to it that will always follow the same kind of pattern. So with the eretz, it was two segos, but the buy it is an ah, whatever the consonant is here, it's an ah-yi pattern, ah-yi. So buy it means house, but if I wanted to say wine, I say yayin, and an olive is a zayit, and they all have this exact vowel pattern with this ah, and then a yud and a this e, and so
And the letter ayin, it's an ayin.
ayin is ayin, exactly, which means I. So all those words that have that pattern are gonna, and the accent's gonna be on the ah, and then there are gonna be other things that happen, the plurals and everything else. All right, how do I say son? I bet you know two ways of saying son.
Ben.
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 And what's the other way of saying Ben?
Bar.
Bar. So bar is the Aramaic way of saying son, because you're so fancy that you know the Aramaic too. But if you say bar mitzvah, well, I don't know why we don't say ben mitzvah, why we call it a bar mitzvah. But I knew you knew that. But ben is the Hebrew word. And what's a blessing?
Bracha.
A bracha, right? And in Yiddish, you'd call it a bracha. I told you the funny story about the movie that we have that's an Ashkenazic, Yiddish, English kind of a thing. And the kids, there's this one boy who's supposed to be trying to find out what are all the blessings for the food. And there's a specific order you're supposed to say them in. And they kept saying the brocha, the brocha. I thought they were talking about witches, because that's the Spanish word for witch, brocha, brocha. But bracha is a blessing. This is a good example of a moving shva in action, because there's not much of a sound between the bet and the resh, bracha. You could even say bracha. Accents on the last syllable. How do I say daughter? Bat. What about in Aramaic? How would I say daughter?
Bat.
Also bat. So we would have a bat mitzvah either way, whether we were Aramaic or a Hebrew. Bat mitzvah, bat is daughter. How do I say a word or a thing?
Davar.
Davar, good. So davar. Marla, weren't you the one who wanted us to start at the beginning? Look at you go, girl. Come on. Davar is
I reviewed 1 through 3 this morning.
excellent. Yeah, but look, that's a whole bunch of them already. Davar is a word or a thing. And then we have the word for loving kindness, not just kindness. This is a special kind of kindness. Loving kindness is
Chesed.
chesed. Sometimes you'll hear the plural in the prayer, in the service. Chasadim tovim. We're going to hear that. I'm about to show you some prayers too, where we're using this word. Chesed is loving kindness. And you may notice that the Hasidim, the ones with the payas and the black hat and the whole thing, they come from that same word. That's where they got that word, their name from, Hasidim, from loving kindnesses. It's a little bit of a stretch sometimes, but that's all right. This is one of the words that you get to hear in the first day of creation story. How do I say day in Hebrew? Yom. Yom. Remember, it's a suckling sound. Yom. How do I say king? It's the beginning of almost every blessing. Melech. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech. So you will often see it translated not as king, because if we're talking about it about God, we might want to gender neutralize it a little bit. So it might be ruler, or it might be sovereign. I love sovereign. If you can spell it, I like that one. And capital letters, please. No capital letters in Hebrew, but if you're talking about God, please capitalize those letters. And this is a word that is, when a word ends with an ut ending, I call it the dumbness ending, because in this case it's a kingdom, but it could be, or it could be hood, like childhood, if you do it there. But you're taking the same 3 root letters, melech, and you're turning it into a dumb word, kingdom. And notice that you had a final chaf. And how do I know it's a final chaf? It goes below the line. It's got a shva inside it. It's the only letter that you're going to see a shva inside it. It's the end of the word melech. And this one is malchut, and it doesn't have a final chaf in it. But that's okay. It's a chaf. It's not at the end of the word. So we needed to just remember that it's the same letter. How do I say world or universe?
Olam.
Olam. So if we were saying a blessing, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam, the ruler of the universe. And if we're talking about the nation or people, then the word would be um. Sounds like you're thinking. Let me think.
Trying to figure, what is
let me
the
think.
word for people?
I always love doing that. I ask the class, what's the word for people? And they say, I said, that's right. I'm like, what? I feel like I'm who's on first again. You may know the song, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael Chai, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael Chai. That's the people of Israel live. There's also this one, Eretz Yisrael is the land of Israel. There's Am Yisrael and Eretz Yisrael, the land of Israel and the people of Israel. There's also the guy whose name was just Yisrael.
I was about to say, the Israel, Chai, just sounds like he's introducing himself.
Yeah, hi, I'm Yisrael. Exactly right. All right, I can't tell you what this word is. What's the word in Hebrew? Sabbath in Hebrew is?
Shabbat.
Which is part of why it has two B's and why it has a TH, because sometimes the tav at the end of a word is transliterated as a TH. In some dialects, it would have been pronounced as an aspirated T, which may be the Shabbat. And our favorite thing is God called it Shabbat because he shavat. If you switch these two vowels, you have to take out that dagesh, and you get shavat, which means he rested, instead of Shabbat, which is the Sabbath. So this word is peace. It means hello and goodbye, and it's also about completeness. What is that one?
Shalom.
Shalom. How do you make a name for yourself or a reputation for yourself?
The name.
The name. How do I say the name? How do I say that?
Hashem, or
Shem,
in this
right.
case,
So this
just
is
Shem.
Shem. That's why it's not a capital. Shem is name or reputation. When I was growing up, we would pronounce it as an A and not an E. I told you in modern Israel now that two dots like that is most often pronounced as an E. And so you'd say, that's a shame. What did they do to your reputation? I can't even tell you what the English word is to this one. What's this word in Hebrew?
I want to say Torah?
Torah. It's Torah or Torah. So the Yiddish pronunciation, the Ashkenazi pronunciation is Torah or Torah, and the modern Sephardic pronunciation is Torah or the Resh, Torah. It's related to the words Mora, which are teacher, or Horim, which are parents. Sometimes Torah means like law. In the scriptures, sometimes when you see Torah, it means law or instruction. So that's all of the nouns, apparently, that we've learned in the original form. Then they did this thing, because supposedly in chapter 6, we also started doing some of the possessive endings to know whose thing it is. So if I say Avi, it means my father. If I say Imecha, it means your mother. If I say Amitech, that means your truth. If I say Artso, it means his. So we learned these endings, these what are called pronominal suffixes, which means the pronouns that are squished to the end of the word. And we learned that in chapter 6 and chapter 7.
Her daughter,
Uh-huh.
it didn't seem to follow the same pattern
You're not
because
saying my son or my.
no, when I found a word, I circled it because I thought it was wrong, and then I looked it up, and
Yep. Instead of bat, it turns into beat most of the time. It's bt, bitcha,
Yeah.
bitech, bito. Yeah. It's worse once we saw these in their plurals also, not just the possessive endings, but the plural of ben of son is banim, which can make sense. So the vowel changes a little bit. But the plural of bat, you would presume was something like batot, but it's banot. There's a nun in there. So that's an old word, and it's got all kinds of baggage. It's a daughter. What can I say? It's got baggage. But actually, so does brother and so does father. They have baggage.
All of them.
It's family.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be a problem. So M turns into imi also. It's just weird. So those are things you're gonna have to recognize a little bit. This one has some vowel changes, but the kamats I mean what's it called?
Shva.
Composite shva. That's at the beginning. The chataf patach. It's called which means kind of like the plucked patach. The patach is this thing. That's not surprising because it is. I haven't said it yet today. It is propretonic reduction of the kamaz.
It is. Where's Jennifer?
Yeah, I know. Where did Jennifer go today? That's a very good. Well, her kid is on break today, I think. So maybe that's why we don't see her.
Oh, okay.
Good question. But she's not the only one who loves propretonic reduction of the kamaz. So this looks like this is such an intriguing exercise. This one, I would love to do this, but I don't think we should do that one yet. It's just, I like this idea that you can find the right ones and you could find a phrase that you would like. And I know some of you have already done this, so that's kind of not fair, but that one looks like fun. You're supposed to translate into the Hebrew, but for the time being, I would rather work on it in this direction. So let's see if we can translate these sentences into English. And that's at the bottom of page 49.
49.
It's exercise 7, if you're looking at it in your book. So, does someone want to read that?
Holding in the AC in here.
Okay, thanks.
Does someone want to read that one for me? That sentence, number 1?
In Hebrew or English?
Oh, read it in Hebrew first.
Ata b'na v'simcha Moshe.
Good. And I'm going to tweak 2 little things. That was very good and very fast. I'm going to tweak 2 things. Ata, this hey has a dot in it, which is a mapik. I have to hear the hey. Ata b'nah, I have to hear ha at the end. And I thought you said simcha instead of shimcha, but it might have just been my speakers. Ata bincha.
I said simcha.
Yep. It's not. This one's not a simcha. That would be spelled with a sin, but it would have had a chet instead of a chaf. So ata binah v'shimcha Moshe. And I remember doing these. I think that it feels a little bit like, I don't know. Maybe it's. I don't remember if this is a whole story, but so ata binah. Let's just take those 2 words. What's that mean? Ata binah.
You are the son?
You are, but it's not just the son. If you are this, how would I say you are the son?
Atahab.
Or Habain.
Yep, hata haben, ata haben. You are the son. So this isn't just you are the son. This is ata benah. So you're right about son, but when it has the hey with the mapik in it, who does that son belong to?
Your son.
Me?
No, that would be Beni.
My,
So it's
my son is Beni.
your son.
So your son is either bincha if it's to a guy, or benich if it's to a gal. Your son.
Okay.
Is it her?
Yes,
It's her.
again.
It's her. So the hey ending is usually a feminine marker. So guess feminine first, and it's the 3rd person feminine. So it's her. So benah means it's her something, and it's her son. Ata benah. You are her son. You get that? Everybody seeing that? Ata benah. And I'm trying to show you how to find that too. I mean that you're getting there by knowing that if it's a hey, so it's probably feminine something. And this is the 3rd person feminine. It is not a your. The ending for your, I could, let me show, if you want, let me show you again. Because this is, I mean, this is tricky, but we can go back and look at the endings here. Over here, I think. Yeah, so if we do this, you'll see the endings are, we need to know what the possessed form is. Davar is the main word. Devar, where we have propretonic reduction. And then we have, the ending is E. And then for your masculine, it's cha. You're going to see a chaf, cha and ech. So I like to think of it as ata and at, where it ends with a tav, where this got the tav as part of it. And in this one, it's a cha and an ech. And then O is his, and ah is hers. All right? That's as a reminder then. We're going to go back, make everybody dizzy.
Jana,
Yeah.
I've been really confused with him and hen and ach and ah, ha. But is there a separate word for you all, or is there an ending for there?
So there is a.
Are there always separate words?
Let me see if I can. Let me see if I can find this for you, because I thought we had a chart that I put on. Didn't I put a chart on Hebrew Doc for you there? Or maybe I put it in the wrong place. I mean, maybe we don't have it here. Maybe I have it here. Hold on. Let me see if it's in the biblical Hebrew chart. The possessive ending somewhere. This is all verbs. Blah blah blah.
There, I saw it.
Yeah, this is
Here.
possessive endings.
Chapter 15.
Let's look at the flashcards. Okay. So if you look at this, Beiti is for ani, it's mine, my house. And then the cha and the ech, or the cha or echa is what you're going to see for for the ata form.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't as good as I'd like. Maybe it's in, let me just see if it's here, if this one's better. No, that's the same one. That was flashcards. Let's do possessive endings. Okay, here we go. Because this one shows the yours and stuff. So this says my house is Beiti. And you see the part that is the my is the e ending.
Mm-hmm.
This one, but I wish that we had the ata. I don't know why I didn't do that. So, but it's because it's never ata. I like to think of it as connected to ata. You're never going to see the word ata in the middle of, no, that's not a good way of saying it. Unlike when we do conjugations, that if you say ata lamadeta or ata shamarta, you can have that ata in there and you see the ta ending. That's a conjugation. That means it's a verb. For this, you're not going to see that. You're going to say it's your house. It may or may not be the case that the beginning of the sentence has you in it at all. It's kind of irrelevant because it's connected only to this word right now. So, but I like to think of the ata when I'm thinking of the cha. So this is a cha ending, and that means it belongs to you. It's a second person, just like when we have the second person in the pronouns is ata and at and atem and aten, that you're going to see the ta in all of them. For the possessive endings, you're going to see a ch in all of them. So for the you masculine singular form, you're going to see masculine singular form. You're going to see a cha. This is biblical Hebrew. You'll see it also in liturgical Hebrew, but the echa form is what happens when it comes at the very end of a sentence or phrase. But it's the same thing. You're looking for that cha ending. When you see the cha ending, it means it belongs to you, masculine singular. If you see the ech ending, then it means it belongs to you, feminine singular. So you're still saying a cha. You know that it's there. You know it has to do with you, singular. But if it's a cha, then it's you, masculine singular. And if it's ech, then it's you, feminine singular. And then we're going to go to, because of the question, just to show you, for the you plural, it belongs to you, where the you plural for the pronoun is atem or aten. In this case, it's your plural is chem and chen. Okay? And so there, I like to keep them as connected in my brain to those things. And it's similar. The ani ends with e, so that's connected. Who form has an o ending for his, and the ah ending is the she. It's hers, I should say. And anachnu, which is we, has a new ending for the possessive ending. And then hem and hen has the mem and the nun as the ending, but it's not m and n, it's am and an. So the their house is the there, and the an is there for that. Does that help a little bit to see a chart like that? So that was in the biblical Hebrew chart.
It hasn't quite snapped yet, but it will.
Well, and it helps just to remember. That's why it's really important, I think, to know the subject pronouns. Just know those things inside out. Ani, ata, atu, he, anachnu, excuse me, atem, aten, hen, hem. Know those really well, because I feel like all the other things we're going to be doing when we're using pronouns are going to be very relatable to those words. They're not always going to be identical, but they're going to be very relatable, and you're going to think them. So whether it's, believe it or not, so this is an official grammatical thing that if you say you're conjugating a verb, but you say you're doing a declension for a noun or a pronoun, it's the same. It's when you're talking about, mine, then it's a declension. It's not a conjugation.
Can you put that chart in our reviews?
I can. I will be happy to. I will move that over. Like I said, it was easy to see, but yeah, I can, absolutely. And if you want, we can do, did I do any of these in like either a Kahoot or did I do any verb chart of this? I don't remember.
I don't think so.
I don't remember. Let's do liturgical Hebrew. Oh, this is going to take me forever and ever away. But this was like 6-ish. That's surprising. I must have been lazy. Because I know I meant to. Nope, I don't have that. That's 6, 7, and we're still in possessive endings. Nope, that's present tense. Okay, nope. All right, I will do that. I am happy to do that. We'll make some flashcards, and we will. I'm writing myself a note. I'm making a note that says Prayerbook Hebrew, and add possessive. Okay, got it. All right, let's go back. Ooh, look how many things I have open up here. I can't believe you can see me at all right now. We'll leave that there for a second. That's still flashcards. And we're here. All right. And we only have a few more minutes, but I think we could get through this a little bit. Ata benach means you are her son. V'shimcha Moshe. Well, we know what Moshe is. We know what Moshe is. That we can hands down that one. V is and. What's shimcha?
Name.
His name.
So Shem, it has to do with name. So whose name is it? If it says shimcha. Your. Shimcha is your. Okay.
Oh,
So it says, Ata binah, you are her son, and your name is Moses.
Oh, okay.
You are her son, and your name is Moses.
So for his, it would be Shimo.
Exactly. Shemo Moshe, and his name is.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
So, and that, but you might have, to make that sentence make more sense, it might have been, Hu benah, he is her son, Vishmo Moshe, and his name is Moses. That would probably be a more practical sentence. Let me show you this. I'm going to leave that there. I'm going to leave this here for a sec. I'm going to take those away. Let me do this for a second. I had it open already, I thought. Okay, this.
You gotta fix that message.
What message?
It says we meet 5:30 to 6:30,
Yeah, I know.
right on the left there.
We meet 6 to 7 now. And this is really important. We are not meeting next week. I am substituting. Rabbis Feivel and Sydney are out of town, and there's a class that they had long ago scheduled. We are not meeting next week. And for this class, I think I wrote down a whole bunch of dates that we're not meeting in our meeting. It's really
November, some 10th.
Yeah, so we have, right now, as far as I know, the 21st, I can't meet with you for this month, but yes, for the 28th. And then on the November 18th, there's a Federation Board meeting, so I can't meet with you. I don't know how anybody feels about Veterans Day. For now, I'm okay with meeting on Veterans Day. And then in Thanksgiving, I don't know how you feel about meeting the day before Thanksgiving. So we can get closer to that and make decisions. But what I wanted to show you is this. These are my requirements for the Bar and Bat Mitzvah students. And this is real Hebrew. This is Hebrew not just from the prayer book, but also from Torah. This is the Vahafta, which is Deuteronomy 6:5, and a few more sentences. But I wanted to show you this. If we hadn't already done this, this is cool stuff. You're seeing what I'm seeing, right? You're seeing Vahafta? Okay. So Ve'ahavta means, and you shall love, the ata, et Adonai. And I put a little hyphen in there so that I'm not writing Adonai, but you can see that it's the word, but I'm not taking God's name in vain. You could print this out and you could do stuff. But it says Elohecha, your God. So that's the cha ending. And then it says b'chol, with all levavcha. A levav is a heart. So this is with all cha, your heart. Uvechol, and with all nafshecha, your nefesh, which is your soul. Uvechol me'odecha, and with all of your ma'od, which means very. I don't know. Sometimes it's translated as might. I don't know what you translate it as. And then it says v'hayu, and these things will. Sorry, v'hayu hadivarim. You know that word? That means the words or the things. Ha'ela means these words or things. I don't think, we did get to adjectives in this class. The other class didn't get to adjectives yet. Asher is the relative pronoun, that which. Anochi is the other word for I. This is mitzavacha. You know what the word mitzvah is, right? So it's either a commandment or a good deed. But this is the verb form. The verb form is command. But it ends with a cha, meaning a command, which I command you.
You.
Hayom is today. Al is on or upon. Levavecha, your heart, again. So I want to show you something cool. This is the word bechol levavcha, your heart. And this is levavecha, which is your heart. How come they're not the same? Because this is...
At the end.
What?
Because it's at the end.
This is at the end. Because when we get to the end of a word or phrase, we're going to go...
Okay.
Levavecha. It means exactly the same thing.
Listening, Lang.
What's that?
Good listening.
Listen, somebody heard me. So it's the same word. It's just two different endings because of where it comes in the sentence. And then we're going to keep going. We're going to go find this. Vishinan tam, which means, and the ta ending means you did it. Vishinan tam, and the am ending means them. So this says, you shall teach them diligently. And then it says le, which is 2 or 4. Banecha, which means, so it's not bincha, it's banecha. This yud here means that we're dealing with a plural of ben. So it's your sons, your children, or your sons, right? Levanecha, v'dibarta, and you spoke of bam, of them. And then it's going to be, again, we're adding the cha ending to say b'shivtecha, which means in your sitting, b'veitecha, in your house, uvalechtecha, and in your walking or going, vaderech, on the way, uveshochbecha, and in your lying down, uvekumecha, and in your getting up, ukshartam, and you shall, kesher is a connection or a tie, you shall tie them. Ta is you, am is them. Ooh, actually, you know what I should have done? La'ot, for a sign, al yadecha, on your hand. V'hayu l'totafot, and they will be for totafot, whatever the heck those are. Bein einecha, between your eyes. We don't know what they are.
We don't know.
I don't know. But we know because we've been doing it for thousands of years. It's the tefillin. If you don't know what tefillin are, we'll have to show off that one day. Uchetav tam, and you write them. Al mezuzot, on the mezuzah, on the doorposts. Beitecha, that's your word. Beitecha, your house. Uvisharecha, and on your gates. I mean, this is just so cool. This is your stuff in action.
Could you go back up to walking?
Uvalechtecha vaderech.
I think, yeah, that one. Which part of it, I know it's in the vocabulary, but which part of it says the walking part?
It's let me see if I can pull this up for you, because I think you're going to love this. I have a chart already that does this for you. This is really cool. Hebrew doc. And then go to Bet, which is my liturgy, my class. And then in Bet, I have the Vehafta color chart. Dun, 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 dun. This was way before Turner started doing this. I started doing this, Ted Turner. This word. So, move over. Yep.
Okay, yeah.
U is and, V is in or with, cha is your, and the t is actually, the t is related. So the word is actually, so what happens is sometimes there are weak consonants, and the weak consonants will sometimes disappear. So the root is hey lamed chaf, but the hey falls out in this form, in the infinitive form, uvelechtecha, and in your going.
Okay.
And then if I take away these things, sorry. So you can see this thing. I used to do that. I used to make the kids, I'd print out the whole, this is when we started doing it in the outline version. I'd print out these things and then we'd have to color them with Crayola markers and the whole thing. It all makes way more sense when you see it colorized, word for word. And that's also, that's on the bet page. Yep.
Now, where is this whole chart?
So this, I'm going to show you, and I may just send you guys, actually I could throw, let me do this.
Rabbi,
Yeah,
quick question.
yes.
The word for Jewish law or whatever is halacha,
Right, which
and
means walking.
that's related to that same root.
That's
as
right.
Walking.
Lach, exactly, walking or going. All right, let me do this. Can I find my chat? If you can get this, this is this chart. And what did we do with the other one? La la la. I was going to find, okay, let me just go there and I'm going to pull all of these for you, possessive endings, this one. So before I post them, let me at least give them to you. Okay, that's two different links. Can you get those from there or no?
Where did you put the links?
In the chat.
Okay.
How do we save chat?
So one way of doing that is that you click on it and then it'll take you to the link, and then you can copy that link or you can save it as a shortcut or something. I can, let me see if I can do this too.
And I'm not getting the chat at all.
You probably are, but it probably is going to have to, I'll tell you what, I'm just gonna, I'll send these to you as links also. I'll send you an email.
Okay.
It's hard to see when we are, it's a catch-22 here. I can, if I take away the share, oh no.
Oh, okay. I've got it now.
I can do this where I can take away the share. Whoop. And then it's going to be easier to find the chat. Can you see the chat?
Okay. I've got
I
the
just tried
chat
both
on
those
my
links and they
phone.
took me to the home page for the temple.
When you clicked on one of these things?
I clicked on both of them and they take me to the home page for the temple.
That's not helpful. Don't ask me why I did that.
It worked for me perfectly.
Yeah.
Um,
It took me to a new page
Yeah, it should open up a new page.
with that chart.
Yep, it should take you to a new page with that chart. That's what it should do. And then you can take that chart and you could print it or you can save the link to it or whatever, but I can also send it to you another way.
Okay.
All right. But I mean, I know that it's complicated. I can show you again how we get there. If you go to, but I will try to put these together. If you go to Hebrew Doc, there were two different pages that I showed you today that had some things. If you go to Bet, then this is the Bar and Bat Mitzvah preparation. So the V'ahavta color chart is here. It's on the Bet page. Go to Hebrew Doc, go to Bet, and then go to the V'ahavta color chart. There's also V'ahavta flashcards and all kinds of good stuff on this. Every one of the prayers, all of these purple things, that's what the kids need to know to be able to lead their service for Bar Bat Mitzvah. And I also have this, which is one of the things that I was showing you for the V'ahavta. If you click on that, that's all of the prayers too, on the Bet page. And then the other page that we did was this one. So this came from, I'm at Hebrew Doc, and I went to the Biblical Hebrew class. And the biblical Hebrew class has all kinds of fun stuff too. And I went to the right here. So there's going to be charts when we do the past tense and future tense conjugations. But we went to these. There's flashcards here, but this is the one that we were looking at, was the possessive endings.
What's the difference between biblical and liturgical?
So they're not identical. They're both forms of classical Hebrew. There's some vocabulary that exists in prayer books that didn't exist in biblical times. There are so and neither of them are identical to modern Hebrew, but they're both really good cores, and the majority of the words are the same. With intent, I mean, it was intentional. They tried to keep the words the same when they made modern Hebrew, but excuse me, in some ways, biblical Hebrew is a little bit more fancy. I'm always surprised because to me they all feel like they're the same thing, but I'm always
Like a synonym.
yeah. But if you're an Israeli, some of
Yeah.
this feels almost Shakespearean. It feels like it's that kind of fancy. Like no one would talk like that, but no one may talk like some of these things. Like if you say, what was the word we were just looking at in walking to Asher? Where's my Hebrew on that one? Where's my Ve'ahavta? I came out of that one. This one. All right. So when we did.
There's a link to it in chat.
No, but this, yeah, exactly. Uvalechtecha. That there's no one who would say that in modern Hebrew.
Okay.
They would say, and when you go, or and when you walk on the way, and they would never use that word all condensed like that. They would know what it means. It's not hard to know what it means, but it's not typical to say. But there's another way of saying your in modern Hebrew, and that you can use some of those words in liturgical Hebrew. Some of the, like I say, some of the vocabulary is there's the word of. The word of didn't exist as a standalone word in classical Hebrew, in biblical Hebrew. But it started creeping in by the time, 2,000 years later, by the time the Prayerbook Hebrew was written, and it is used all the time in modern Hebrew. So in order to bypass using the of, we do these possessive endings. And modern Israeli speak, they would say, this is, this is Ba'ali, my husband, or Ishti, my wife, Benim, my son. They might do that for some things. But some of this is kind of a little bit very dense. You have to put a lot of water and add water to it to make it come out to be what you need here, to be able to understand it. It is kind of fancy. But I've shown you that the cool thing about this passage is that if you take out the vowels, this looks like it's referring specifically to one guy. It's talking to you. And you shall love Adonai, your God, with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your being. But if you take out all the vowels, then you could just as easily say, Ve'ahaft et Adonai Elohayich b'chol levavech u'v'chol nafshech u'v'chol ma'odech. And it's talking to you specifically as a female, individually.
Oh.
And that kind of blows me away. There are two things going on in this that are so amazingly eternal to show that these words are eternal. One is that if you take away the vowels, the majority of these words that look like they're in the masculine singular could just as easily be understood in the feminine singular, which most people don't look at. But the other is you've got words like this that looks like a past tense word, but because of the fact that the accent changes, and I can tell that the accent changes because of the trope marks, but because of the fact that the accent changes, I'm supposed to understand it as a future tense word. And there are similar things that happen with the future tense words. You're looking at future tense, but you have to understand it as past tense. And those two things they blow my mind how awesome they are. How wonderful and eternal it is. So did you get a chance? I haven't posted yet. I'll try. Maybe I'll do that next too. Did you get a chance to see the Friday night service this past week where we walked through the Torah? We did a Torah. So I'll try to separate just that part out. we unrolled a whole Torah. We started at the beginning in 1917, the beginning of the confirmation wall, and put a bunch of tables out, and we unrolled the whole Torah. It got to the middle of the foyer by the glass doors, and we read the last part of the Torah where Moses just died, and then we read the very first part of the Torah where it's the creation story, and we walked through and we looked for poems and we looked for other cool things, and it was it's awesome. It's really a cool thing.
The other thing, the picture that you shared Saturday where you just took it all the way down really gave you a perspective of how long it was.
I can try to find that for you. I will share that with you because
that was amazing.
I know. And so what happens in some communities for Simchat Torah, which is the day when we commemorate the reading of the end and the beginning on the same day, but for some congregations that have more people in it, they would unroll the Torah and everybody would hold the Torah. So imagine that you're inside the sanctuary and you unroll the Torah. So you have the end over here and you open up the whole thing and the beginning is here. And everybody is standing with their back to the wall and they're holding on to the Torah kind of like this. They've got the top and the bottom. They're not touching any letters. You can hold the back of the page. You're not touching the letters. You're holding it like this. So every few feet you've got another person. And when you look, you're standing there, you're seeing over the Torah, and at one glance you see the entire Torah. It is one of the coolest things. And the beginning and end come together. So
I saw them do that at what's the big temple in New York?
Like the Central Synagogue?
Central, yeah.
At Central Synagogue they did that?
Central, yeah, did that a couple of years ago. I saw them do that. But is Simchat Torah more than one day holiday?
Simchat Torah, so the tricky part is that the Torah talks about Shmini Atzeret, which is the 8th day
that
celebration.
is amazing.
The cool thing is I can do this and I can zoom and you can see as we're going. You see?
Wow.
Isn't that cool?
That is.
Do you worry about it getting torn?
Oh my gosh, Max was a nervous wreck. Max is an absolute nervous wreck, which is why, I mean, if you'll notice, I was really, really careful. We did have the tables there. He was putting chairs underneath also so that it wouldn't hit the ground ever. And we had the books strategically placed so that they would make sure that it was keeping it open everywhere. But yeah. But that was.
But if there were kids running around, you wouldn't want it out like that.
No, but what we do for the kids, I have a picture of it of the kids. I have a practice Torah, which is made of paper and not parchment, and we unrolled that with the kids, and that was really cool because they're holding on to the whole thing, and it's unraveling that big, and the kids held it, and we got to see the whole thing open. We did it one time we unrolled it as big as we could in the sanctuary, and it was too big for just the sanctuary. And then the next time we unrolled it in the hall, and it's just so cool.
So is this the beginning?
So right here, this is the beginning. This is the beginning, and that's the end. Although when we were doing it, obviously we were going in the other direction.
Right. So it's rolled. Is it rolled to the middle or is it rolled to one end?
Where it depends on where you are in the Torah. So
of course.
Starting,
Right.
so what it depends. So we have 3 working Torah scrolls, the active Torah scrolls. So we typically have one that's we may have one that's active that's rolling with us. We may have one that's like closer to the beginning, one that's closer to the end. Right now, the 3 were rolled to the High Holy Day Torah portions. It was Genesis, and it was Leviticus, and it was Deuteronomy. We had those, so we had one in the beginning, one in the end, and one in the middle. And you may have heard my story that this was kind of sad, is that, that was me trying to do a panorama, but I was going in the wrong direction. So it did not work well. So this is the very end of the Torah. So I start reading this, and what's the last word of the Torah?
Yisrael.
What's the last word? And so what's the last letter of the Torah?
Lamed.
And what happens if we read Lamed and then immediately read the very beginning of the Torah? What's the first letter of the Torah?
You get pounds.
Oh, yeah. El Breshi.
Bereshit.
Yeah.
You get Lev.
Heart.
Well, you get LB is pound. You get Lev, which means heart.
Oh.
So it's on one level, it's as if the whole Torah is leading towards Yisrael, to the people of Israel. And on the other hand, you start again from the very beginning and you get Lev by going in this cycle like that. So this was the end. So you know a lot of these words, by the way. So in order to do a complete Torah reading, you need 3 lines. This is where we started. This is the beginning of the third sentence from the end. Velo, it means and not, right? Kam means get up. Navi is a prophet. Velo kam navi od. Od is again. And never again did a prophet arise. Ba Yisrael.
In Israel.
In Israel.
Kemoshe.
Like Moses.
Like Moses. Asher, that's the relative pronoun again. Yad-o. So yada means know, as in to know, to have knowledge of. Yado means to know him. Adonai. Panim el panim. That God knew him face to face.
Okay.
L'chol ha'otot, for all of the otot. Ot, we just said, was a letter or a symbol. V'hamuftim, and the wondrous signs. Asher shalcho, that he sent, that Adonai, la'asot be'eretz Mitzrayim, to do in the land of Mitzrayim, Egypt. L'faro, to Pharaoh. How do you say Pharaoh? Pharaoh. Ulachol avadav, and for all of his avadim, his avadav, the av ending means his. Avadim are his servants or his slaves. Ulachol artso, that's one of your words, and to all of artso is
The land.
his land. Ulachol hayad hachazaka, and for all of his strong hand. Ulachol hamorah hagadol, and his big power. Asher asa Moshe, that Moses did, le'enei kol Yisrael, in the eyes of all of Israel. And you can see here that this is where the Torah is tied on to the Eitz Chaim, the wood.
What kind of wood is it?
That's a good question. I think that each of our Torah scrolls has a slightly different kind of wood. And now there's this cool thing that the guy is so proud of that he's 3Ding it. That was just, I don't remember what that was. Sky? Oh, that's the end. Oh, this
Were
is,
you able to do the
we're going to use this for the,
signs on Sunday? Was
oh,
the
the
weather
signs on Sunday were awesome. I'll show you what they looked like. I can do that too. Let me stop the share. We did the signs on Sunday because so this was a Torah. This was the Torah of the Torah. But on Sunday, we also did this, and I can show you what it looked like. Hold on. Actually, I have pictures of them too. I have a picture of that. Let me just do this. This is easier. But I can share all the signs with you at some point. You can see what they look like. So this was at Agudath Achim, and the signs look like this. So this is Shemot. Come on. No, this is Shmini. So this is the Hillel Smith picture. It tells you the name of the Torah portion. That's Tazria. Shows you the name of the Torah portion. It tells you the chapter and verse and a 2-sentence synopsis. And we did that for all 54 Torah portions. It started here and it walked all the way here and all the way there, and you got to go through and find them all. And I schlepped a portable ark. Come on, why are you not moving with me here? Over here is the portable ark.
did the people really stop and read them?
They did, and I was asking, quizzing them, and the kids were looking at the pictures and saying, well, what's this? And I showed them that the secret is that all of the words are, the name of the Torah portion is built into the picture. And we had snacks and sukkah, and we had consecration. Let's see if I have
Wow.
Exciting, yeah.
certificates, the consecration certificates. Hold on, come on. Yeesh. It's going slowly. Sorry about that. But it was really exciting. And now I'm losing everything. Am I still there? Yes. Anyway, it was very cool. We had a lovely time, and that was another
Too
tour.
bad that the people weren't invited.
The people were all invited, 100%. Both congregations were invited. Didn't surprise me that
The school.
what? No, the people were all invited. I've been sending out messages for weeks. Check your emails, and you will see that you were invited to everything.
Well, I couldn't go anyway.
Right. That's one
I'm
of
Right.
over 60.
Yep, that's true. You shouldn't have gone. And you shouldn't have gone. Anyway, we did all those things. It was a cool weekend. And now this weekend we have Genesis, and I'm using all my old prayer books. Prayer books. We're taking stuff from each of them. So how upset would you be if you heard something like, see, this is the one that has my name on it, Jana Lawrence on there. If you heard something like, wait, I'll show you. I'm thinking I'm just going to use their words. I'm going to apologize ahead of time and just use their words. How about if you saw something like, light is the symbol of the divine in man. The spirit of man is the light of the Lord. There's a lot wrong with that sentence in my view, but it meant something very powerful in those days. So
It was.
all right, I am going to stop recording. I don't know if whoops.